Welcome back to the Teach for the Heart podcast, where we tackle teaching challenges from a biblical perspective. Why are we here? Because we don't believe that our spiritual walk and teaching profession should exist in two separate domains. Rather, the hope we have in Christ should change how we approach everything, not just at home, but at school as well. So join us as we explore both the spiritual and practical sides of key teaching challenges, integrating them together so we can succeed at teaching, glorify God, and make a lasting difference in our students' hearts and lives. Well, this episode is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. And today I want to do something different. This is a bonus episode because what I want to do is I want to share a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what it's been like to create and bring you the Pray and Plan Planner. And I also want to share some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. And I think some of them definitely apply to teaching or just, normal life. So this is really an episode for those of you that are kind of just interested in a little bit of a behind the scenes peek. Just going to share a little bit of just, like I said, more of the what it looks like to create this planner, how we did it, how we're bringing it to you, and some of the things that I've learned along the way. So hope you enjoy this bonus episode, this behind the scenes look at what's going on behind the scenes at Teach for the Heart. So first of all, I want to start with, for those of you that aren't familiar with what Pray and Plan is, it is a planner for Christian teachers. And I'll tell you the entire story, but it's designed to help you prioritize what matters most. And we make it here locally in Ohio, and we send it out in the mail to people all around the country. It's really, really been exciting to see. And I will say, going back to the beginning, the idea for the planner started a long time ago. It just kind of was something in the back of my mind because a lot of people kept asking, do you guys have a planner? Is there a planner for Christian teachers? And I was always just like, no, we don't have that. That'll be cool to do, but that would be a lot. It would be hard to do. And so we never did it. But I remember the beginning of 2021, our organization uses a strategic planning process where at the beginning of the year, we do annual planning. And so we look at the year and we plan, what do we want to do this year? And it wasn't January 1st because that's New Year's Day, but it was one of the first days of January 2021. And 2020 had been a rough year for everybody. COVID had happened, a lot of things that, teachers had wanted, they didn't want, and everything kind of felt really topsy-turvy. We're like, we don't know what we can do to best serve teachers. And so we said, we need to do some new things this year. We need to try something new. And one of the ideas that came up in that meeting was, well, we could do this planner. And we said, okay, we're going to do it. Now, this is kind of crazy, though, because this is January 2nd, 3rd. And the planner, there was so much that had to be done in the next few months to make that a reality. At this point, it is just an idea, and it's not even a fully formed idea. So we had a lot to do to be able to, start selling it in April and have it, shipping out in May. That was very quick turnaround. And we did so much with that. I had a friend that we hired to help me actually put together, and we painstakingly worked on every single page. We first, tried to figure out what pages are we going to include. And I remember certain pages, particularly that weekly spread, we went through so many different iterations. Maybe I should go back and try to find some of the pictures of some of the original versions that we had for it. We thought, okay, what if we lay it out this way? What if we lay it out this way? We can have more space here. And we just kind of rearranged it until we're like, okay, this is the best arrangement that we can come up with. And we did that pretty much for every page and really tried to think through how can we maximize this space? How can we meet the needs of the most people possible? And a big part of the process, honestly, was talking to you guys. We sent out a lot of surveys. We asked a lot of questions. And one of the interesting things was I originally thought that I was not going to include lesson plans in it. I didn't think that people used a physical planner for lesson planning. I thought, everybody lesson plans on the computer. We don't need that. My original vision was just like, this is a book to manage your to-dos and just to keep track of what you're doing. But I am so glad that we asked you guys because we kept hearing, we want lesson plans. And so we decided to make two versions, one with lesson plans and one without lesson plans. And we pursued that. And I'll get back to what happened and the results of that here in a minute. But then we had to also figure out where are we going to get this printed. We had to work with printers and we had to ask them, what kind of coil should we use and what kind of cover should it have? And we had to figure out the specs of what paperweight and all of these things. We were kind of just trying to figure it out. We didn't have a ton of time, but we just kind of dug in and figured all these things out one by one. And then in April of 2021, we opened it up for pre-orders. We had no idea what to expect. If we sell a couple hundred of these, then that means teachers like it and it was kind of worth our trouble. I think we set a goal of maybe 800. But if we sell 800, it will have been worth all the trouble. Enough people are having it and enjoying it. And, we were able to make some profit to pay the people that helped us with it. It would be worth it. And when we opened orders, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I think we sold almost 1,000 in that first week. We were just blown away by how many teachers wanted this, loved it, and said, yes, we want this to be part of our lives, and the response that you guys got. So that was so exciting. So exciting to see. And another big thing is I am so glad we listened to. So this is actually lesson number 1 that I've learned is listen to people. That's like a life lesson, right? And I'm going to talk about it here in a second, but listening to what people want and need. Because if I would have made it the way I was thinking, which is not to have lesson plans, we would have sold 1/3 of that. Because what came back is the version without lesson plans sold about 1/3 of them were without. 2/3, so almost 70% were with lesson plans. That is totally not what I was expected, but that is what teachers wanted, and that's what you guys wanted and needed. So we were so glad that we did the 2 versions, offered both options, and that was really important that we had listened to that. So that's my lesson number 1 takeaway is listen. Listen to what people say they want, say that they need, because, and how can this apply to teaching? Well, I think it's important that a lot of times we want to hold on to the way we think something should be, right? I thought it would be this way. And if I would have held on to that, I would have really missed out on an opportunity. And a lot of teachers would have been really disappointed. But instead, we were willing to listen and willing to adapt what we thought. So listening to feedback from your students, from your admins, from colleagues, being willing to listen and consider it. Does that mean we do everything everyone always wants us to do? Absolutely not. With the planner, we get a ton of suggestions and we listen to all of them, but not all of them are actually feasible. Some don't make sense economically. Some don't make sense because there's only 5% of people that want it that way and 95% want it another way. Or this one particularly tricky thing is the way the lesson plans are, vertical lesson plans versus horizontal. That one is actually more split, more like 40-60 or 30-70. And that one's hard because we can't make multiple versions. We can't do it economically. So we have to choose one or the other. So we often have people saying, oh, I want this version. I say, I can't, not right now. We can't make that version right now. We have to stick to the one the majority. So anyhow, I guess what I'm saying is when we listen to people's advice, it doesn't mean we do everything everybody else always wants us to do, but we should consider it and then make wise choices based on it and not cling to what we originally thought that we wanted it to look like. And as I go through this story, you're going to hear more about listening and adapting because that's been super important. So once we had that first set of pre-orders, we ordered some from the printer. We actually ordered some extra. Those sold out super fast. Then we had to figure out how are we going to ship those out. And this has been really fun. My nieces and nephews, and now as my kids are getting older, my kids help ship them out. So we get boxes from the printer and they fill our basement or our garage. It's so many, 800 books is a lot of boxes. These are big planners. And then we have at least, what we've done so far is we normally have this box. So the box comes flat and it has to be folded up. So the kids fold up all the boxes, make big stacks of them. And then we put the planners in, we tape them all up so that they're secure. We add the label. So it's a whole process. So typically we do them in big batches. The kids will come over and work for 6-8 hours, depending on how many planners need to go out and get them all ready. And then they go out in the mail and our mailman just loves us so much. No, our mailman is absolutely fantastic. But we work with the postal service and they come and pick them up. The last one we did not the last one, but the big one we just did a few weeks ago, literally filled up the entire mail truck. And it was not a small mail truck. It was a good sized mail truck. It's just the volume of the planners. It just gets really big when you have 800, 1,000 planners going out. It is a lot of planners. So that's really fun going through. But it was so cool to see you guys get the planner, to receive it, and to actually enjoy it. That was just a really, really exciting year. I think that year we ordered 2 or 3 batches of the planner. So like we ordered that original batch. I think we sold 1,000 and ordered something like 1,200, but those sold out super fast. So then we came back and said, okay, we're going to send another batch. We let people take more orders. We ordered another one. I don't remember if we did 2 or 3 batches throughout the summer, but we did it quite a few times and sold. I don't have the number in front of me, but it was around approaching 3,000 planners, which was just phenomenal and really exciting to see. It was way beyond anything we ever thought or expected. This episode is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. The Herzog Foundation has so many incredible resources for Christian schools, and what I want to share with you today is their trainings, particularly for Christian school leaders, administrators, board. They have so many wonderful trainings, and they are by and large free, and they even offer lodging and some food while you're there. So they are incredibly affordable. All you have to do is get there, and they are just absolutely phenomenal. So if you work in a Christian school or if you know any Christian school leaders, highly recommend checking out their training. You can go to herzogfoundation.com and click the events tab at the top. Now back to our program. That is not the end of the story, though, because life continues to throw challenges at you. And one of the challenges that we ran into very quickly the next year was a paper shortage. So the next year, that was 2021. The next year, 2022, this was, coming off of COVID, but COVID's still very much wreaking havoc. And apparently there were crazy paper shortages worldwide paper shortages. So as I told you before, we had ordered the planners in, I think, we ordered them in April and they were like ready in May. Like it was like a 3-week turnaround. But here we were talking to our printer and they said, if you want to make sure you have enough paper, we need a lot of paper for your order. We need to order the paper in January to have any hope of having it here, to have any assurance rather of having it here when you need to place it. So we had to decide in January, okay, we're going to commit. We're going to put, thousands of dollars down to buy this paper to have for the planner. And then when we went to order it, we didn't really have the option to say, okay, we're going to do different batches. It was really like, we need to order all of them at once. So that was scary. So I'm not a very risky person. It's hard to put down tens of thousands of dollars. I'm talking, $80,000 is the cost to purchase these planners to sell. And so that was scary. But it was also, an opportunity to grow in faith. And I'm going to talk more about that when I get into the following year. But a lot of iterations happened this year. This is the year that we added a tabbed option, which was another thing that we listened. We asked that first year, what do people need? And people said tabs, tabs, tabs. And I was like, I don't know if we can do tabs. Once again, that's something I didn't want. I didn't think we needed tabs, but the teachers wanted tabs. And we quickly figured that out. And so we figured, well, we're going to have to, it's really expensive to do tabs. We figured out a way to just charge a little bit extra. We kind of solved that problem. And we said, all right, we're going to offer tabs. And they were wildly successful. People, I don't remember the percentage. It was 80% or more wanted tabs and chose to pay. I think we charged $7 extra for tabs. And so we said, oh my goodness, this was definitely worth it. We did that. We iterated. We came up with a new cover. This year, we also solved the problem. Apparently, the first year, the cover, if you tore it a certain way, it would tear. So we decided to get it laminated with the edge seal so it would be super secure and reliable. So we did that. We got a different coil. We got a coil. The first year, we did a type of coil that would actually, the paper pages could come out, but we got an actual spiral coil. So we made a lot of iterations that second year. It made it a little bit more expensive to produce, but it was worth it in the quality. And those changes were really, really well received. And it was just fantastic. So it sold really, really well that year, even though we had to buy them all up front, which was very scary. They sold out without too much trouble, which was really awesome. I think we actually even ended up going back and asking for some more, which was great. So there's that. And then I'm going to pause here and share lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 that I've learned from this planner is if God puts something on your heart and there's something that you want to do, you can get stuck in research. I don't want to give too blanket of advice, but it is important if you feel called to something and that you're yes, I want to do this, to decide to do it and then figure it out. In other words, if you wait to say I'm going to do it until you have everything figured out, you will probably never do this. This planner would never, ever, ever have happened if I said I have to have everything figured out before we start. that would have just been impossible. And I think a lot of things in life are like that, where you figure things out as you go. Because honestly, when I look back on it now, there have been a million challenges with this planner. I'm telling you about a few of them, but there have been so many things to solve, so many issues that we've run into. And when you take them one at a time, it's okay. But if I would have tried to anticipate and solve all of them up front, it would have been so overwhelming, I would have given up. But number two, a lot of times the answers come as you're moving. As you're moving forward, it's easier to steer a moving car than a parked one, right? So that made a big difference in just being able to move forward and taking that kind of step by step and solving things. So I guess that's my lesson number two for you guys. If there's something you've been wanting to do, whether it's, something in your personal life, side project, or if it's something in your classroom that you really like, I really want to try this, but I feel like I don't know exactly how it's going to work. If you have enough to get started, enough of an idea to get started, you can solve the problems and crystallize the idea as you go. So that's my encouragement. If you feel called to something, it's what you want to do enough research to know if you want to do, do I want to do this? But don't get stuck on the research phase. Don't get stuck trying to figure everything out before you get started. Get started, figure it out as you go along. So that's my lesson number two that I learned. Okay, this brings us up to 2023, last year. This year, I will be honest, we did not do a lot of iteration. We said it worked really great last year. Everyone loved it. We're going to do the same thing. So we made a few tweaks to the book. But we didn't make any big changes. We offered the same versions. We had heard people saying this is too big, but we said, well, if you want all this stuff, it is big. So we listened to advice, but didn't really take it to heart. We basically we have a lot of other things we're doing. We're basically going to do the same thing again. It was good last year. It'll be good again this year. And we also really struggled with the cover this year. I will say this year, picking a cover was like torture. We went through so many ideas. We never felt like the whole team didn't feel great about any of them. We went back and forth. We agonized. My husband is our designer. We had some rough moments trying to figure it out. I'll just say that. It was really challenging. Oh, I forgot to say, I got to give a shout out to my husband. My friend Allie helped me design the planner and figure out what should go on every page. Tim is the one that lays it out every year and makes it actually happen. And he does a phenomenal job. But okay, so there's that. But in 2023, it was a really challenging year trying to figure it out. We finally had it. We released it, and it did not do as well as we hoped when we put it out for pre-order. And we really didn't know why. And that entire year was a really big struggle. I was really, once again, we had to order them all up front again because there were still paper shortages. And I was really, really nervous that we were going to be left with hundreds of planners in our basement. And these planners are, if you purchase a planner, they're not inexpensive for you to buy. And that's because they are not inexpensive for us to buy. They are very, very expensive. And as I said, we're forking out close to $100,000 to purchase this planner inventory. And each one is very expensive. So if we're left with a couple hundred planners, that is kind of devastating. So I was very, very nervous about that. I was worried about it. And this is honestly where lesson number 3 comes in. I had to learn over that summer to how to trust God with this. And this applies to so many things in life, but I feel like this is a lesson I have to learn over and over again, is that we are called to do our best, right? I don't believe that God calls us to simply say, all right, I have this problem. I'm literally going to do nothing about it and just hope it gets better. Or just pray and ask God to fix it and then feel like I don't have to do any work at all. I don't believe for most things that's the way we should approach it. But so we were committed to work hard and try to figure out I know one of the differences that made was the year before we sell the planner on Facebook ads and they had done very well. But this year they were just Facebook is always changing its algorithms and sometimes it's just not cooperative. And it's just they were costing a lot to sell. And we didn't have, they were basically eating up the majority of our margin to sell them on Facebook ads. And so it was very difficult to get that to work. Just nothing was easy. And so back to my lesson. I was committed to doing our part and to doing our best. But when you're someone who wants to do your best and wants to work hard and wants to solve problems, sometimes we can take too much on ourselves and we can really stress about it, especially when it's not working, especially when you try something and it doesn't work, and you try something and it doesn't work, and, or it's a roller coaster. This week it looks good. This week it looks bad, we can really start getting into the highs and lows and take on too much anxiety for ourselves. And God says, do not worry about tomorrow. Right? He says, do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So learning how to, yes, work. That doesn't mean we don't do any work, but to do it in a manner of trusting God. As I work, I'm trusting God with the results. I'm trusting Him. That hopefully they will all sell. But if they don't, if we're left with 300 at the end of the summer, that He is still good, and that's okay, and that's part of His plan, and that all will be okay. And so I struggled with that lesson last year. I'm doing a lot better with it this year, I will say. So far. We'll see what happens. But I think that's a lesson I'm continually learning. And I think a lot of us, we have to continually learn that. But it's good practice. It's good practice to have areas of our lives that feel out of our control, or that we don't know, or that kind of make us nervous, because it's that practice of trusting God, giving it to Him, and trusting Him to provide. So I got to speed up this story because we're running out of time. But that was 2023. Praise the Lord. We only ended up we had some left over, but it was less than 50, I think. It was not that many. And I was able to give some to some of the teachers at our school, and like kind of gift some to a few local teachers. And so that was a blessing to be able to do that. So praise the Lord. They were sold, and we were so thankful for that. This year, though, we said, okay, we need to iterate. We didn't iterate last year. We didn't address any of these problems. We need to do it. And so this year it was really, really fun to do. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun to say, okay, we wanted to solve the biggest question the biggest issue people kept saying is this planner is too big. And it was a little bit tricky to solve this because some people want the big planner. Some of you guys want the huge comprehensive planner. You want all the lesson plans, and you want all the to-dos, and you want it in one book, and you want to have plenty of space. And so for that, you need the big, Erin Condren size planner. And so we said, we're not going to get rid of that. And it's good. And that's a good thing we didn't, because it's still the best selling planner. We call it the Ultimate now, and that one still absolutely exists. But we said, what about these other, what else can we do? So a couple things that had come up, a lot of people had said that we don't want one that big. So we said, what can we do? So we came up with 2 new versions this year. One is the lesson planner, which basically has only lesson plans and not to-dos. So once again, this is the opposite of my original vision, which was to-dos and not lesson plans. But this is a version people really want, and it's sold really well this summer. A lot of you guys have gotten it and are going to use it this next year. So I'm so excited that we did that. The result of that book is it's a lot slimmer, thinner. It's a lot lighter. So it's going to be a lot easier to carry back and forth to school or wherever you need it to be. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other version we created was a mini planner. And so far this year, the mini planner is not for lesson plans. If you want a small lesson planner, that's the one, the lesson planner. But we also made a smaller version of the planner without lesson plans. So this one we made a 6x9 version, which I didn't know if we'd be able to do, but we said, let's see if we can make it work. And we did. And I love how it turned out. And this is the version I'm going to be using this year, Pray and Plan Mini. So it's for to-dos. It's not for lesson planning, but it is a great tiny planner that can fit, really convenient. It's less than a pound, can fit in and out of bags really easily. And so a lot of people, that sold really, really well as well, especially in our pre-order window. Because I think a lot of people said, I love Pray and Plan, but I want a smaller version, and they got the mini, and we've gotten great feedback so far on that. So it was we did a couple other new things this year. We added a year at a glance page, which is something people had been asking for. We added personalized pages so that if there's something missing in the planner, you can put it there. We added, when I say missing, I mean like a certain type of page that you want. That we had so many miscellaneous requests that we couldn't put all those in, but we made these personalizable pages so all people could choose what they wanted those pages to be. That was an idea by our team member, Becky, which was such a good idea. And then we also created a digital version. So we did a lot of iteration this year, and it was really exciting to see. And our pre-order sales were like our highest year. I don't think they beat the first year, because that was just crazy, but they beat the other past couple years. So you guys really responded and really liked the new versions, which was really exciting to see. And so, as of this recording, we have a lot left. We're like right on track. We're right on kind of tracking they're selling well, and we're really thankful, but we still have plenty left because we like to have a lot on hand in July so that they can, we can, a lot of people don't even look for their teacher planner until July. So we try to have a lot available in July. I am a little nervous this year, though, that we are going to run out of the most popular one because this was so new this year. Trying to decide what inventory to purchase can be so tricky because once again, we're having to place this huge order and kind of having to guess at what people are going to want and what percentages people are going to want of each one. And ideally, you run out of them at the same time. So it's not really great if, third week of July, you're out of the most popular one and you have, these 3 other versions, but you're missing this one. You know what I mean? Like, that's not as ideal because then people are like, you still need to advertise it to sell out of the other versions, but then people are disappointed that they can't get the one they have. So we really try. In the past couple of years, we've done a really pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close of estimating, and the percentages stayed pretty reliable. But this year, we're like, we have no idea. There's 4 versions now. It's going to totally change, our percentages of what people order. And so, for sure enough, it did. So we based our order on the pre-order, what people bought in pre-orders. But what we've discovered now is that what the pre-orders are basically our own people, and it's a lot of the people that bought Pray and Plan in the past. Versus after that, it's a lot of newer people or people that it's still a lot of reorders, but it's a lot of people finding Pray and Plan for the first time. And so in the pre-order period, a ton of people ordered minis. But now a ton of people are ordering the Ultimate, which is the biggest, most comprehensive planner. All the planners are selling well. But it's just interesting. Basically, if I could go back in time, I would change our order a little bit and change the percentages of which planners we ordered. But I can't. But we do have the ability to order some more. So I might end up ordering some more of the most popular one, the Ultimate. But all that said, that is a future problem I'm going to have to solve. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that over the summer, keep an eye on our inventory levels. But I will say, if you are interested in checking out Pray and Plan, I do recommend going ahead and purchasing it now. We have plenty right now, but I cannot promise that we are going to have all the versions all the way through July. I suspect we might run out of certain versions in July. I don't know that. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what God does. But that is entirely possible. So if there's a certain version you want, it's available now. Go ahead and grab it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this behind the scenes look. I know this was a very different episode, but God has taught me so much through the planner. And I've had a lot of people ask questions, about it. And I feel like I probably didn't even answer most of your questions. I hardly even talked about how it's printed. The printing process has blown my mind. I just had no idea. I just thought it'd be simple. Like, you just make the book. It is so complex, their printing process. And that's why the book is not cheap and it's printed locally. And honestly, I am questioning if we need to order it from overseas, but it kind of breaks my heart a little bit. But the margins right now are getting so small that I don't know if we can continue to print with the local printer that we have. We might have to find a different local printer. I don't know. That is a problem I'm definitely going to have to solve before next year because the margins are just shrinking to the point where it's almost like we can't afford to advertise it, which then defeats the purpose. So pray for me about that. That's something I'll have to solve for next year. But anyhow, the printing process, I really am so impressed with our printer and they do such a good job. But yeah, and that's one of the reasons I don't want to do something different because I'm committed to the quality of the planner and it's kind of scary, could we find something as good of quality elsewhere and all that. So anyhow, like I said, a future issue to solve, but the printing process really is incredible. They print the paper and the planner. Then they print I can't even get into it with you, but it has so many steps. They print the covers, they send them out for laminating, they come back, they get punched, and then they actually hand coil each planner. I guess it's like they don't work as well on the machine, so they have people hand coil all the planners. It is really just quite an incredible process. So there's so much more I could talk about, but I don't want this episode to be too long. So I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of the behind the scenes. If you have questions, feel free to ask. You can reach out to us at hello@teachfortheheart.com. Hop in our Facebook group at teachfortheheart.com/Facebook. Tag me, Linda Cardamus. I'd love to answer your questions about the planner. It is kind of fun to chat and share a little bit of the behind the scenes story. So feel free to ask any questions that you have. And yeah, if you wanted to check out the planner, I don't know if I've given you the URL yet. You can just Google Pray and Plan. It'll come right up. Or you can go to teachfortheheart.com/planner and check it out there. Well, guys, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this bonus episode, and we'll be back in July with brand new podcast episodes. Thank you for sticking with us as we kind of take a break here in June. I look forward to being with you again soon. This episode was brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. All views and opinions are my own and don't necessarily reflect those of the Herzog Foundation. In the meantime, teacher, remember, God is at work in you and through you, and He's using you to make a difference. Keep your eyes on Him and teach for the heart.